most important relationship that you will ever have is the relationship that you have with yourself. Before any other relationship can go well, you first have to have a positive relationship with yourself. Do you love you? That's one of the things I had to sit with and really ask myself. Because, for me, off top, I say, yeah, I love me. Of course, I love myself. But then when you really got to get to know yourself and be honest with yourself, because you got some quirks and some nuances that you may not even notice about yourself until you get with another person. And that person is going to be able to hold a mirror up to you, and you'll see your reflection. You'll see all those things that you may not have noticed before. And the reason I start with that is because I can clearly see that there is an attack on men and women right now. There is a concentrated effort to keep us divided, especially black men and black women. Just listening to the dating woes and the relationship woes that a lot of our peers and elders are going through and have gone through, it made me realize that, something has to be done about this. And as with anything, change has to begin within first. But in order for that change to take place, I think it's important to realize that there is an attack going on, and why. It's much easier to subjugate a population if you have the men and the women infighting, not getting along. And if you look at the black community in particular, you'll see how this problem has really been exacerbated because there was a point in time on this planet where it was only a black man and a black woman running society together. And there's evidence of the wonders we were able to do working together, working in our masculine and our feminine roles. And the people who control the planet, the 1% that actually do control the planet, they know this. They know that we were able to accomplish some wonderful things by working together. Dick Gregory sort of pointed this out to me. He was talking about the civil rights movement and what we were able to accomplish during that, working together. And then you really saw, okay, now we really have to put this divide in between men and women, get them out of their roles and things that they were comfortable doing. And another thing to realize is, you gotta have some patience with yourself and have some patience with the person or persons that you're dealing with. Because really, we're all out here kind of crazy. Now, what does it mean to be sane in an insane society? Like our society, you can tell the tree by its fruit, right? So if you look at the people walking around, the way our society is running, you can see that, okay, something must be wrong with this tree because the fruit that's being produced isn't good fruit. Some of us may seem to have it together. Some of us may seem to be out here living a life. But if you're looking at it as a whole, it's clear to see that, this thing is falling apart and getting worse. The question is why? And I really believe all the evidence points to me is that the why is because once, if we were ever to realize that there is a war on and that everything that they're doing out of fear of us coming together and operating in our true nature, you'll realize that, like I have, that the most important thing that you can do is to find that knowledge yourself. And that's a very individual thing. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can force you into it. It's something that you have to want to do. You have to begin to operate out of that love frequency. Like, are the actions that you're taking, are you doing it out of love? If not, it's going to be some consequences that come of that may not be what you want. We got a lot of brothers in jail. We have a lot of brothers who are in the streets. We have a lot of brothers who don't understand women and may have a hate of them but not be conscious of it. And that hate that they're feeling of women is because, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Deep down inside, men, we know we're supposed to build a society that our women and children can exist in peace. And right now, we don't have that. There's millions of children missing, millions of black women missing. Hell, there's millions of black men missing, and nobody seems to care. Where are all these people? Why are we continuing to exist in a society or participate in a society that allows this to happen? It's because we don't think we have any other choice. And again, that goes back to the fact that, we're kind of crazy out here to keep participating in this thing, thinking we're going to have different results. If I could do anything, I would want to inspire people to look within and start changing the things about themselves that they do not like, to make yourself the best version of yourself that you can be. And to do that, you're going to have to get down to your core self. Who were you before the world started putting all these traumas on you? Who can you be after working through all those traumas? There's a prize there. There's an ultimate version of yourself that's waiting to come out. You hear it speaking to you. That's that voice that tells you, I shouldn't have did that, or I should have did so and so. And to speak on this desperation that a lot of us feel, there's more women than men on the planet. And if you look at the marriage situation and the dating situation in the black community, there's a lot of women out here lonely. There's a lot of men out here lonely too. And that loneliness can lead to desperation. And desperate people will do desperate things. And those desperate things, in the end, they don't have good consequences. I met a young lady one time. I guess you could say we were dating. We were getting to know each other. And she invited me over to her place one night. And we had sex before, maybe a few times before. And she wanted to have sex that night, but she was on her cycle. She was going through her cycle, or she was on her period. And I know, I've learned this through my studies, that when you have sex with a woman when she's on her cycle, that bonds you to her. That's like a blood bond. You ever see people slash their hands and shake hands like a blood pact? But when you have sex with a woman, she's on her period or she's going through her cycle, that gives a type of power that ties y'all together. In the South, we have this saying that your uncles or older men will tell you, don't eat a woman's spaghetti unless you're married to her. And that comes from the fact that that woman can take her menstrual blood and put it in spaghetti and you eat it. Now all of a sudden you can't get this woman off your mind. You can't leave her even if you wanted to, because there's a powerful tie there. Well, anyway, I got there that night and she wanted to have sex and I wasn't with it because I wasn't trying to be tied to that woman like that. I just wasn't trying to be tied to that particular woman in that way. In my mind, you should only do that with a woman that you are deeply in love with and you want to have some type of future with. So later on that night, she said, "Hey Ron, do you want some chips and salsa?" Now I was hungry, but something told me, said, "Nah, you don't want no chips and salsa." So I was like, "Nah, I don't want any." So we kept going on whatever we were talking about, enjoying the evening. And then she asked me again, "Hey, you sure you don't want any chips and salsa?" I was like, "Nah, yeah, I'm good. I don't want any." I think she wound up asking me maybe 2 more times that night if I wanted chips and salsa. And each time it just got a little odder to me because I'm like, "I already told you I didn't want it." And it wasn't until I left and I was on my way home that it clicked in my mind. I was like, yo, she probably put some of her period blood in the salsa and wanted me to ingest it. She was trying to, lock me down. And I see that as that was a move of desperation. Maybe she could tell that I wasn't as into her as she was into me, and she wanted to do something that was going to, seal the deal. But because she moved out of desperation, it had the opposite effect. I don't think I ever saw her again after that. I don't think I really talked to her again after that either. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, that's dishonesty. You trying to get me caught up for no, well, I want to say for no reason, but you trying to get me caught up, and you trying to trap a man or trap a woman who doesn't want to be trapped or kept. That's only going to hurt in the long run. And I'm sure there's numerous stories like that out there of either the man being desperate or the woman being desperate, and they're doing something crazy, or it seems to be crazy, and it having like a negative result. Excuse me. Keeping the man and woman divided is of the utmost to us. Read this book by Edward Bernays called Propaganda, and in it talks about the feminism movement and how they use that as a means to start pitting the women against their men. Because the house divided cannot stand. If you have the mother and the father not getting along, that's going to have a ripple effect to the whole community and then to the whole nation. Keep them divided, keep them fighting amongst themselves, and the powers that be, the 1% that controls the world, they can continue to do what they've been doing, which is getting over. They know that their power is a very fragile one. All the people have to do is stop participating in their nonsense and look within for their own answers, and this whole thing starts to crumble. And I'm of the opinion that their ultimate fear, that 1% that's running the planet, isn't that black people will rise up and start ruling the planet again as man and woman, or God and goddess. Because we did that for trillions upon trillions of years. We've been down here so long that we forgot how we got down here. It had to be left behind in records and stories and mythologies. The true fear is that once we realize what kind of game that we're in, and we shift this vibration out of fear into love, this whole thing fizzles away. We'll shift to a higher level. And the goal is to keep this thing vibrating at the low frequency that it is now, so that 1% who are in control, they can stay in control. Because once we move out and move on up to a higher level, I don't think they know what happens to them. I think their fear is of what happens when we stop coming to play the game. Like, think about it. Think about a Super Nintendo or any game system. What happens to the people inside the game or the entities inside the game when you decide to stop playing? Life is like the ultimate RPG or role-playing game. We each come down here and we pick a role to play. And through those roles, our souls has an experience that's going to give us what we need to further us along on our journey. Now, some of that may seem harsh, but the people who came down here to have a role that seems crazy to you, try not to be so judgmental of, but just realize that maybe that's their role. Be happy it's not you. That's why I always try to have compassion towards people who seem to be in the worst situation that I am. Because I'm like, man, that could have been me, but I decided different. And because we are compassionate, it's in our nature to want to reach back and give back to those who we see need the help. But the greatest thing that I can do is to inspire you to save yourself. You are your own superhero. You have to be a healed individual or going through your process of healing before you can even begin to think about being in a relationship. Because until that relationship that you have with yourself is intact, bringing somebody else into the mix is only going to cause confusion. I've uh, I've learned even more about myself since I've been in this relationship that I am now, and it's a beautiful and a powerful thing. And at the same time, it can be frustrating because you get to the point where you feel like, yeah, I know myself. I know all my quirks. I know why I do the things that I do. Until you have that woman in front of you and she's holding up a mirror, metaphorically, and you're seeing yourself. Like, oh, okay, why am I doing that? I've had to rethink some of my actions. A lot of the things that they've trained us to do, especially men and women, we've been trained to do certain things. But with men, I know that training is to really enhance our lustful nature, to make us look at women like pieces of meat. And that leads to problems. Because something that seems small to you now can grow into something larger if you don't nip it in the bud early. If you don't realize it and then take steps to correct it. Because, I don't want to be out here just looking at women like they're pieces of meat. But the programming that I've got, everything that's been pushed on me since a child, says otherwise. It's like, I used to have uncles ask me, how them girls treat me, boy? Little things like that from a little child. So okay, I'm supposed to go out here and I'm supposed to get women. And if you look at, music and media, the guys who are considered the man are the men who are out here who are entertaining multiple women at once. But that's just leading to confusion. Because while you're just running behind them in like a lustful nature, imagine making a baby with a woman you don't even like. That's what that leads to. Just being lustful, just following after your dick. I've seen so many men, black, white, whatever, in a world of trouble because they had a child with a woman they don't even like. Now, some men would just walk away, won't do anything. And that leads to problems because now you have a child or children growing up in a fatherless home. That leads to all types of other problems. I was amazed as I got older and I started speaking to more women and learning more about their stories, how many of them have been sexually abused. It's really, really sad. And sometimes that comes from not having healed men around them or not having a father around to protect them. And to be real, there's a lot of boys out here who have been molested as well. And either they don't know they've been molested or they trick themselves into thinking, nah, that's all right. Like imagine being like 9 years old and a 21-year-old woman is making you do things to her. Mentally, you're not ready for that. That's child abuse. But men, we get taught, oh man, you the man. Wish that would have happened to me. That's what some guys say when they hear things like that. That's how messed up we are in our minds. Even the fact that when it comes to sex, they're only teaching us one level of it. They're only teaching us the physical nature of sex, not the spirituality that goes into it, not even the magic and the manifestation that can come from it. As good as sex feels, if you're just doing it on that physical level, you haven't even reached the heights of what sex can be. There's always more to learn. And because of that ignorance, because of us not knowing ourselves and not knowing the depths of our soul, we approach a lot of things on the surface level. And that surface level thinking, it's only going to get you shallow results. It's not until you begin to dig deeper within yourself that you can go higher, manifest greater. If I'm going to be down here on this planet, on this plane, I want to do something meaningful for myself. I want to explore the possibilities of what can be. I will explore the possibilities of what can be. And part of that starts with, giving back. This is a way of sharing with you what I've learned, but also it's like a form of therapy in itself. Learning how to dig through your thoughts and decipher them and reorganize them in a way that brings out the best version of yourself. You see, I am a product of a love story. I think back on my grandfather and grandmother and my mother and father, how everything had to line up perfectly to get me here. Because just a tiny quirk in that system or a quirk in that story, and this version of me wouldn't be here. And that same thing goes for you as well. A few things going different, or maybe even one thing going different, and you don't make it here. And if you came here, if you're down here and you're listening to this, you have something very unique to offer the world. Your task is to find out what that is. I had a grandmother who would she taught me how to speak in a very particular manner. She encouraged me to express myself in full sentences. Like when I was a child, somebody asked me my name, the training I got from her, I couldn't just say, my name is Ron. I was taught to say, my name is Ronald Jerome Simmons Jr. Speaking in full sentences, speaking in a full thought, putting me in front of crowds. Maybe she had a vision of what I would be called to do later on in life. Because I enjoy sharing. When I find out something new, it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope. Let me share this with somebody. So as I learn more, I'm going to be coming to you guys more to share. Because I truly know that once you start changing yourself for the better, the reality around you begins to change as well. And it doesn't necessarily take a lot. Talk about the book, The Holographic Universe, a lot. But there's some key points in there that makes this thing make so much more sense. Like me and my woman operating in a loving relationship that's synergetic, it works and it grows organically, and we're treating each other with the respect and the love that we deserve, that spreads out to other people. They begin to see, okay, I like what I'm seeing over there. I want that for myself. How can I get that? Hey, what do y'all do? You get more people operating on a love frequency, and this reality will shift. But in the holographic universe, they did this experiment where they had this picture that had like 4 or 5 faces that you can see clearly in it, but hidden within that picture was a bunch of other smaller faces. Now they took that and they brought in a group of people and they asked them, how many faces can you point out? And when they asked them, they can only point out like the 4 or 5 main ones. That's all people can see. Then they took that same picture, took it down to Australia, showed it on TV only in Australia, and they pointed out all the hidden faces. They then went back to England, got another group of people, brought out that same picture and asked them to point out those faces. And miraculously, now people can see those hidden faces in that portrait. That just goes to show you that we have a shared consciousness. I like to think of it as of us all being in a swimming pool together. And what you do on one end of the pool is going to send ripples out to the rest of the pool. And we're all in this pool together. We're all co-creating this reality together. So as you begin to change yourself for the better, that's sending out a vibration and a wave into this reality. And others will pick up on that and start to change themselves as well. It all starts with you. You are powerful beyond measure. You are wise beyond measure. You just have to believe to be true for yourself and start looking within. You have the answers. You just got to start looking for them. There's this clip of Bobby Hemmett speaking. He said, knowledge is a privilege, but it's a privilege and it's for those who seek it. Because as you start looking for stuff, as you start seeking knowledge, you'll start drawing more and more to yourself. And that's the fascinating thing. I started learning one thing, and then I get turned on to this person, then I get turned on to this book, then I get turned on to this idea, and it starts to cogs roll in my brain. I'm like, wow. And you start expanding on it. And it's a wonderful thing. That tool you have in your hand, that phone that you use every day, you can either use it to better yourself, or you can use it as mindless entertainment, or you can do it as a little bit of both. And that's key as well, finding that balance. Like a balanced person is going to have a much easier time in a relationship. An unbalanced person, like two unbalanced people together, it's only going to cause chaos. One of the things I love the most about my relationship is how peaceful it is. And then I've been able to witness the opposite from other people. I've seen people who are in relationships and it's not peaceful in the least bit. Constant arguing, constant fighting. Situation like that is real stressful. And as stressful as life is in general, or how stressful life can be just trying to survive in this American society, you don't need the added stress of an unhealthy relationship. But in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have a healthy relationship. In order to have a healthy relationship with somebody else, you must first have a healthy relationship with yourself. One of the things that you can do that I suggest is look at the music that you're listening to. If you're only listening to one genre of music, and it's the mainstream hip hop and rap that you hear on the radio, or the ones the kind that's pushed to you through streaming platforms, try something a little bit different. Check out some Brahms, Brahms. He was a composer, and his music, the type of music that he makes, really stirs my soul. Listen to anything by Brahms, just try it out. Instead of getting in the car and listen to your usual, try something different. Listen to some jazz, Duke Ellington, Earth, Wind and Fire. Listen to some more music that has actual instrumentation and actual humans playing instruments. And see how you feel afterwards. And jot that down. I listened to this. This is how I was feeling beforehand. I listened to this. This is how I feel now. Do that for a week and keep track of your mood. I guarantee you're going to have a better feeling. Get more sleep, drink more water, and go within. These things sound simple, but if you do it, you'll have tremendous results. Because if you're going to be down here, you might as well be down here and be healthy, in my opinion. Y'all be easy. Peace.